I like Dwayne.
I respect Shawn Michaels.
No, I have no desire to work with Shawn.
Jealous of The Rock.
There's one guy.
Finally, there's a guy.
Rock, Shawn Michaels, the showstopper,
Trailblazer,
headliner,
eyebrow raising,
main event,
people's champ,
Shawn Michaels,
The Rock.
With history between them going back close to a decade earlier, with an alleged altercation almost taking place with Michaels coming into work for his grandmother in a local promotion in Hawaii. November 17, 1996 saw the paths of Shawn Michaels and Dwayne Johnson crossed again, this time on the biggest stage in the industry with the Survivor Series pay-per-view in Madison Square Garden, featuring both in high-profile spots for different reasons, with Michaels defending the WWF title against Cena in the main event while Rock made his TV debut in the company, setting up the direction for 1997 with Michaels dropping the belt to set up a rematch in his hometown at the Rumble, while Rock was established on the first night by leading his team to victory, and with Rock's potential clear to management since the first time he entered the wrestling ring, including Vince McMahon's right-hand man Pat Patterson predicting him to be the company's next top headliner after watching him for the first time. Rock as a result had an instant bullseye put on him in the WWF locker room, with the intense competition for places on the cards escalating further on February 13, 1997 in a special Thursday Raw, which saw Rocky's initial push continuing by beating Hunter to win the IC title, on a show most remembered for Shawn Michaels forfeiting the title by claiming knee injury to abruptly change the company's entire direction for WrestleMania 13. And with the WWF roster perhaps more divided than ever with the Hart and Michaels camps, Rock now holding the second highest profile title in the company by winning it from Michaels' closest buddy Hunter, who he pushed for to be in the spot, caught their attention on another level from that point on.
I remember Shawn Michaels coming in the dressing room and dressing down poor Dwayne, he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was the young guy with getting his big first break in the business and stuff, and the nicest guy in the world. And I believe he told him to never do a drop kick off the top rope ever again, because that was his move. That was what he was mad about. And I said, that's bullshit. That is total bullshit. I said, nobody owns the drop kick off the top. Like you can do that. Owen does it all the time. Why has he never cut a promo on Owen? Triple H was the same. He was always out to get Rock. They wanted him as bad as they wanted me out. Like, they were after him. And I'm so glad he overcame their petty bullshit that they were trying to do all the time to him.
Just jealousy?
Just jealousy. Out of nowhere. Like, it wasn't the only time they came in and made those kind of scenes. It happened a few times, but I would always, because I had a lot of clout and a lot of power too, so I could go in and make them rebound and say, don't pay attention to that stuff.
When I first came up here, the very first guy to go out of his way and help me was Bret Hart. It's very ironic that it was him, because at that time he had the belt. He was the number one guy in our industry, and here he is going out of his way to help me. In any way he possibly could. We only had worked one time, but even before that, he would go out of his way, to give me advice and say if I ever need anything in terms of advice or questions, don't be afraid to ask him. And for that, I will always be thankful.
With the lines now clear, with Rock seen as a future rival in a top spot along with being closer to the Hart camp, Michaels and Hunter with Bret Hart untouchable as the top name in the company following his heel turn, set their political focus on the rookie with numerous attempts to slow him down, peaking at the time on the March 31st Raw headlined by their two main targets facing each other for the first time, with Bret Hart vs Rocky Maivia in a future all-time dream match booked for the main event, leading to political maneuvering being played back and forth between the Hart and Michaels camps, with Michaels and Hunter reportedly pushing for Rock to drop the title to Hart, with the idea of dropping both down the card by taking the title off Rock and slowing down Hart's heel run momentum in secondary programs, resulting in Bret vetoing the result to change the suggested title change into a DQ finish. With the intense rivalry continuing on and off screen on the way to Montreal in November 1997, followed by WrestleMania 14 in March 98 to take both Hart and Michaels off the WWF roster in an unprecedented situation of the two most influential performers in the company being permanently written off at almost the exact same time. opening the door for Rock and Hunter to now take center stage, with them almost channeling a less intense version of the Bret and Shawn rivalry as the leaders of the Nation and DX, seeing their feud, which went over the entire summer, peaking in a Rock vs. Hunter ladder match at SummerSlam, with the go-home show also seeing the first Rock and Michaels on-screen interaction, with Michaels making the save for Chyna in what was also Raw's highest-rated segment of the night with a 5.4 rating.
Wait a minute, he's never been in a main event since he's mid-card for life. That jabroni down there, he only hangs out with world champions. He's never been one.
With SummerSlam 98 ending up a career-elevating night, with Rock despite dropping the title in the feud's blow-off match overshadowing Hunter, with the MSG crowd making it clear that he was the next top headliner in the industry to accelerate his road to the top spot, culminating at Survivor Series 2 months later, with Rock winning his first WWF title to form the corporation in an all-time memorable swerve on a 24-hour period that saw the WWF boom period going to the next level, with the company entering its peak for the follow-up on Raw, including the Rock vs. Austin main event setting a new viewership record in show history with over 8 million viewers. An unexpected twist 7 days later saw the unlikely scenario of Rock and Michaels joining forces on screen, with Michaels turning heel on DX to join the corporation in what ended up the closest it ever got to a Rock and Michaels program, with Michaels and Rock despite their previous personal issues, and with Rock now a megastar in the making as opposed to a 6-month rookie, not only not showing any signs of it interfering in business but showing strong chemistry during their TV partnership, highlighted by an all-time great segment to open Raw on December 14th, with them teaming up to verbally take down Hunter and DX as mid-card wannabes, while in the process driving a massive TV audience, with the 20-minute segment kicking off Raw with a record 5.5 rating with over 6.2 million viewers in the biggest audience to ever watch Raw's opening quarter. And with things on the surface clicking in every aspect, not only for the company but for Rock and Michaels on a personal level, it ended up setting the stage for their biggest conflict to date.
I respect Shawn Michaels for what he's done in the ring. His accomplishments have been unbelievable, what he's done. I've never had a problem with Shawn Michaels. The Rock and the Heartbreak Kid have never locked horns. So, and I mean that professionally, entertainment-wise, in the ring or outside of the ring.
You saw a lot of the stuff that he was doing backstage.
Yeah,
I mean, he was much into the politics of it.
Right. So that part I really didn't care too much for. But again, it never revolved around me. I was never in a storyline with Shawn Michaels. I was never involved with Shawn. We didn't have any angle or anything like that going. So the relationship I had with Shawn Michaels wasn't a very tight one. It was very, hey, how you doing? How is everything? And you're doing good, or try this or whatever.
That guy never turned out to be a friend, and I'll just leave it there.
I was so irate at Shawn.
Steve came up to me, it was right after we'd had the cage match with Vince, next night on Raw.
And I think it was in Birmingham, Alabama. Shawn, for whatever reason, decided to stick his nose in it. He went to Vince. I think Steve went to Shawn and said,
It was supposed to be a three-way. It was supposed to be me, Rock, and Steve. Shawn, who was Bad Shawn at the time, he was impulsive, and he was very opinionated, and he did change their mind, because when he went in to make it a singles match, came out and it was, but I was not part of it.
And Russo had him booked in a three-way. So he goes, man, they got me doing this, that, and the other. He goes, what do you think of this? I think it sucks. And Russo said, what do you mean? I said, hey, you just asked me his opinion. I'm just telling you.
Was originally set up to be a three-way with Mick. Shawn, who wasn't working at the time, showed up and just started stirring really started working Austin. Next thing you know, Austin goes to Vince. Next thing you know, Vince comes to me. Vince, you got to go tell Mick he's out of the WrestleMania main event. I saw Triple H, and I cut a scathing promo on Triple H. 1 minute later, Shawn Michaels is in my face, threatening to fight me.
Days after saying that he wasn't specifically involved in any Michaels political issues, Rock found himself in the middle of perhaps the biggest political clash of the year, involving all the top players in the company, with a WrestleMania main event on the line. With February 15, 1999 perhaps more than any other was the day most responsible for the Rock vs. Michaels match never taking place, with Rock, who just the previous Monday commented publicly on his relationship with Shawn, including putting him over for what he has done in the business, changing his stance from that point on, with the backstage maneuvering happening throughout the day in Birmingham hours before Raw went on the air, all but ending any chance of it happening, with Rock bringing up the political battle in the lead-up to his first WrestleMania main event for decades later, with one misconception during the day being that while head writer Vince Russo confronted Michaels on pushing for Mick Foley to be taken out of the match in favor of an Austin vs. Rock singles match, the reality was that Shawn pushed for Rock to be taken out and for Foley vs. Austin to headline the pay-per-view, with Vince McMahon and Steve Austin knowing that the big money match is in Rock vs. Austin, with them all but cemented to headline WrestleMania 15, since drawing the record rating on November 16, ignoring the noise to officially set it up with him winning back the title from Foley in a ladder match in the Raw main event just hours later, in what also ended up the first wrestling broadcast to average over 7 million viewers in the history of cable television, and with the Rock vs. Austin main event matching expectations to drive WrestleMania 15 to the biggest pay-per-view in history. The next time Rock and Michaels were in the same ring since the political fireworks of February 15 came on another all-time record night for the industry, with Raw going unopposed on May 10, 99, shattering every viewership record ever set for weekly wrestling television, drawing 9.2 million viewers, with Michaels returning to book the card for the night along with refereeing the main event, with the big star power six-man tag of Rock, Austin and Vince against Taker, Shane and Hunter peaking at a record-breaking 9.2 rating with over 10.4 million viewers.
Shawn Michaels, you little jabroni, Rudy Poo. The sheriff's back in town. Rock says this, Kibosabi. Spin it! Can you see it? Take it straight up, you can't do that!
The Rock realizes that he has raised the bar in sports entertainment. Record-setting WWF champion. There's no one that can cut an interview like The Rock, and there's no one that can electrify like The Rock.
Come on, Rock, what the hell are you doing?
The Rock realizes there's a jabroni outside who's just dying to come in, a guy who's just so jealous of The Rock that it eats him up inside. And it looks like a monkey walked back there in that studio, squatted, took a crap, and out came this guy, and his name is Triple H. So The Rock is going to leave now. Triple H is going to come on in here with China. The ratings are going to go to the toilet, but that's okay.
With Rock now the hottest performer in the business, with the company naming their first ever weekly network TV show after him in SmackDown. The season premiere on August 26 saw Michaels, who returned to television in the build-up to the SummerSlam pay-per-view 2 weeks earlier, as usual instantly made headlines all throughout Thursday before, during and after the premiere SmackDown broadcast went off the air, with a talked-about-by-this interview on the company website publicly criticizing Steve Austin for not directly doing the job to Hunter like he did for him at WrestleMania 14. While being booked to referee the first ever SmackDown main event with Rock vs. Triple H for the title, seeing the worked finish playing off the legit situation of the attempts happening over the past 2 years, with Michaels costing Rock the match to hand Hunter the belt, reportedly further stirring things up with Michaels between the Austin interview and Rock finish causing another controversy in record time to perhaps even top his own record by putting major heat on himself from the top 2 names in the industry. With the SmackDown finish knowing the personal and political history between the players involved behind the scenes, leading to speculation on the follow-up, with varying reports including Michaels himself confirming a pre-show backstage conversation with Rock regarding the timing of the spot, noting Rock confronting Michaels on the stiffer-than-usual super kick, to as far as Rock's father Rocky Johnson hearing a story about the issue leading to a physical altercation.
He almost killed the Heartbreak Kid. I wasn't there, I just heard the story that Shawn threw the karate kick, and I guess he kicked him a little bit too hard, so Dwayne come back in the dressing room and told him, hey man, you hit me too hard, calm down. But then he got smart with him. And the next thing you know, he's on the floor and Dwayne's on top of him.
Whether or not it got that far, Michaels now with perhaps more heat on him internally than at any point since the political peak of his run after alienating the 2 top stars in the business, with the company driven by Rock and Austin to its all-time peak, not wanting to disrupt the hierarchy in the machine, was written off television for the foreseeable future with no return date in sight, including one final issue for the year with Russo, who despite his personal issues with Shawn still pushed for him to be brought back for the better of the show despite McMahon advising against it, writing Michaels to be part of a Raw segment with him flying in only to be notified backstage that plans changed with him no longer part of the show, leading to another Michaels-Russo confrontation with Michaels not seen in a WWF arena for almost the next year. And while the company continued its hottest run in history with Rock leading the way into 2000, December 1999 saw a rare situation of the top name in the industry giving almost unprecedented access to the behind-the-scenes process of the business while in the peak of his career with a 90-minute shoot interview with The Torch, seeing one of the topics making headlines out of the interview being Rock's comments on Michaels, this time with a different tone than his previous interview in early February, with rumors about the legit issues between them now widely talked about publicly.
What's your opinion on The Rock? As far as I know, Sheets have said you guys have personal heat.
Me and Rocky?
I don't know how true it is. I mean,
really?
I don't know. It's kind of...
I like Dwayne. He's a nice kid. I thought shit. He showed me a whole nother side on Saturday Night Live. I thought he did fantastic.
Right.
I thought it was a riot. So I like him.
Shawn Michaels, what are your thoughts on him? Was he helpful to you? He was not helpful to me. I never think his help. I really have nothing to say about Shawn. He was cordial with me, as I was with him. But, other than that, he doesn't know me well enough to speak of me, and I don't know him well enough to speak of him. Working a tough program with him, if you were able to come back for a handful of matches. No, I have no desire to work with Shawn. Okay. None whatsoever.
If there was any doubt on possible heat between them, with talks of it potentially building up for a future match following the SmackDown finish in August, Rock ended any talk of it during the interview published in the first week of 2000, with him shutting down any chance of a match against Michaels even if he comes out of retirement, with Michaels in a similar shoot interview several months later when asked about the rumors of legit issues with Rock coming out of the WrestleMania main event conflict and later Superkick and website interview, giving a more diplomatic answer saying that he likes Dwayne and they had no issues behind the scenes, while putting over his SNL performance in what ended up one of the most significant shows in Rock's career, with his mainstream media stock elevated to new heights following the show drawing the highest rating of the season, and with Michaels not seen on WWF television since costing Rock the match last August. May 15th saw a coincidental situation with the Raw broadcast built on both Rock and Michaels making their TV returns on the same night, with Rock returning after a week out filming his first movie role in The Mummy, while Michaels 9 months later was brought back to the exact same spot that he left, with him announcing himself the special referee in the Rock vs. Triple H 1-hour Iron Man match at the Judgment Day pay-per-view, with Rock responding to it in a promo an hour later in what was also his first Raw appearance since setting the all-time record for the most watched wrestling segment in cable TV history for the cage match against Shane, drawing 11 million viewers, bringing up the last time they were in the ring, warning Michaels to call the match straight down the middle or this time he will take him out, building up anticipation for a Michaels-Rock confrontation which didn't come until the day of the show.
Thoughts on Bret saying Triple H and HBK tried to push The Rock out? As far as I know, that's true. From what The Rock told me, that's the reason why The Rock and Shawn Michaels never worked a match. Yeah, even when Shawn came back, I believe there was one match where it was Triple H versus The Rock in Louisville, Kentucky, and Shawn was the special guest ref, and they were angling to try and do an angling, trying to do a storyline, a feud between Rock and Shawn. I don't think Rock wanted to do it. And as big of a media mogul as The Rock is, at the start, deep down inside, he is a wrestler through and through.
Rumors swirling on .com and throughout the internet that you're jealous of The Rock.
It's on the internet. It's got to be true. That's enough of these asinine questions.
There's one guy that loves the spotlight. Hell, he loves it more than I ever did. He's got the whole world wrapped around his finger. You smell what I'm cooking.
As talks of the legit heat became more generally known in the industry, with the company aware of the public perception inside the hardcore audience, the Judgment Day pay-per-view saw the WWF playing off the rumors with Cole in a backstage interview with Michaels asking about possible jealousy of Rock's success in a segment designed to further fuel the rumors heading into the Iron Man match. with Rock and Michaels after not being on the same screen once during the build-up having their first interaction in a brief 30-second segment on the Heat broadcast half an hour before the pay-per-view went on the air, with the match which again ended with Michaels indirectly costing Rock the title with a DQ finish for the last fall, leaving the door open for the potential Michaels vs. Rock feud, with Chris Jericho, who was one of the closest people on the roster to Rock during the time and on the same show, worked second from the top against Chris Benoit, noting that he remembers the company attempting to build towards a Rock-Michaels program coming out of the Iron Man match, but with Rock again not interested, with Michaels reportedly also keeping the tradition of putting as much heat on him as possible every time he returns, by allegedly making some comments on the execution of the 60-minute match to see internal calls for him to be written off TV again, with the match consensusly praised as one of the best in company history. As with the WWF's peak run continuing, with the company building to 2 game-changing deals of going public and for a new massive TV package deal under the Viacom umbrella, with Raw moving to TNN from the USA Network. The third TNN broadcast on October 9th opened with Michaels making his return in an opening segment with Mick Foley, and with the hints of the direction happening now for over a year. The promo on the night all but confirmed the company's attempt to make Rock vs. Michaels happen, with Michaels cutting a promo on Rock accusing him of running over Austin, with comparisons between Michaels' run as the top guy and Rock's reign today, and with talks of Michaels potentially coming out of retirement in the near future, with him recently already working a match in his local promotion along with starting negotiations with the company on a new deal. It seemed like only a matter of time before the first Rock vs. Michaels match headlines a major pay-per-view.
Me, Taker, Rock. Vince is in the ring. I own WCW. Shawn is messed up. Vince calls him in, tells him, go home. Shawn goes ballistic.
You're the problem. Steal the spotlight, just like Austin tried to steal it from me, just like The Rock tries to steal it from Hunter.
With Michaels, who was set to play a major role in the Taker vs. Hunter WrestleMania 17 match to set up his in-ring return a few months after signing a new contract, showing up in no condition to work to one of the most historic shows in company history, with Vince McMahon officially announcing him buying WCW to end the Monday Night Wars. The Raw and SmackDown scripts heading into WrestleMania were rewritten on short notice to not only write Michaels off the TV plans but from the company in general, with Vince, after a reported spectacle taking place backstage in Cleveland of Shawn incoherently meeting Rock, Taker and Hunter during the show, followed by him aggressively confronting Hunter, sending Michaels home to cancel any plans of him coming back in the near future, leading to Michaels making major life changes over the next year, with him coming back on a full-time basis in June 2002, as usual coming right into chaos in the middle of the Steve Austin dispute with the company before walking out on June 10th to lead to one of the most chaotic 2 weeks of television in Raw history, with Vince deciding to blow off the draft angle with Flair on a few hours' notice by the end of the night, with Michaels on the same show as part of the NWO kicking Booker T out of the group before cutting a promo playing off the real-life perception by taking shots at both Austin and Rock for stealing the spotlight from him and Hunter, and with the company looking to get back on track following the Austin situation. A week later, with the headlines from the fallout only escalating by the day, a decision was made over the weekend to give Rock a call to make an emergency appearance on Raw, with him arriving to the building in Oakland approximately 15 minutes before going to the ring to avoid any chance of it being reported, with him sending Vince McMahon out of the ring to address the live crowd and TV viewers in the ring alone, cutting an all-time memorable State of the Company promo to send Austin off while drawing Raw's most watched segment in over a month with over 6.8 million viewers. And with Michaels now making 4 comeback appearances from 1999 to 2002, all related to Rock in one way or another, with him either directly involved in his program or attempting to start an angle by mentioning his name in a promo. The build-up to SummerSlam, with Michaels making his in-ring return after over 4 years, saw Rock targeting a different match, with him setting up the pay-per-view main event against Brock Lesnar months in advance, with Rock and Michaels, despite for the first time building to the top 2 matches of a major pay-per-view on the same brand, barely interacting in the lead-up to the show, with the only time both were on the same screen being the final minutes of the go-home Raw on August 19, with a Rock Lesnar Michaels Hunter 4-way brawl to close the pay-per-view hype. with Rock after being written off for the rest of the year to film the Rundown movie, setting up the next target for his return run in the background with him after returning in the Hollywood heel character, heavily pushing for Bill Goldberg to sign with the company, including arranging the first McMahon-Goldberg meeting, looking for the first Rock vs. Goldberg match to headline WrestleMania 19, which ended up being delayed for Backlash a month later, with the Hollywood Rock run as arguably the greatest one-man show ever seen on wrestling television, despite working full-time for 2 months on the same brand. Again, not interacting with Michaels on Raw with him in an interview a few months later, still making it clear that despite the numerous attempts to make it happen, he doesn't see a Michaels match as a priority in his career.
Really got a chance with The Rock. You know, you guys were never placed together.
When he rose to the top, I got injured. I mean, that's when I was out for 4 years. You know, when I came back is when his career really took off.
So it's just timing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And there was a time, at one point, when he was sort of coming in and out, people asked about it, but it was, I don't think he was interested in it, which I completely, every time he comes back to wrestle, that's a lot of people's, movie studios and stuff like that.
So, but you think that someone floated it out to him that maybe he would come back and wrestle you and he may
Well, somebody asked me about it, again, it was years ago, Pat Patterson, and he just said, would that be something you're interested in? Because they would always, at WrestleMania time, they would always come to me and throw names out there, and I always said, sure.
With the constant hints between 1999 and 2002 ending up not leading to the on-screen feud, the biggest attempt to finally make the Rock vs. Michaels dream match a reality came in 2004 with his mentor Pat Patterson as perhaps the one man who was capable and asked to arrange it from Rock's side, including already notifying Michaels on the company's plan for the match to headline WrestleMania 20 in the Garden, ending up in the same result with Rock turning down the match to instead make his return for the Rock and Sock Connection reunion against Evolution, with Michaels as a result added to the Benoit vs. Hunter title match on short notice, with the build-up seeing the Rock and Foley segments getting top billing over the three-way title match, with them placed in the main event spots while drawing the peak rating on every show heading into the pay-per-view. As with WrestleMania 20 ending up Rock's final match for the foreseeable future following a dispute with the company over his contract situation unknowingly expiring at the end of the year, the window on the match looked to be closing by the month, with the possibility of Rock never wrestling another match, with Michaels in the meantime setting up for another all-time dream match with the first Hogan vs. Michaels match targeted to headline SummerSlam on August 21, 2005. With the build-up seeing a unique situation taking place on June 27, with the company cleverly building up a mystery partner for Michaels and Cena in a six-man tag match in the Raw main event, simultaneously hinting it being either Rock or Hogan, with the show taking place from the Anaheim Pond in a building Rock made several of his surprise returns from, including going as far as to tease his appearance without mentioning his name, with Jericho, Christian and Tomko speculating on the mystery partner while mentioning that they're near Hollywood to start the buzz in the building with Rocky chants. Seeing the 2-hour build-up stunt working beyond the most optimistic expectations, with Raw spiking huge to its most watched broadcast of the year, including the second hour driven by the mystery tag match drawing massive viewership of over 6.3 million viewers in the most watched hour of Raw in over 3 years, and with the big talk in the industry in the summer of 2005 being the Michaels-Hogan feud on and off screen. Michaels, in a radio interview hyping the match 3 days to the pay-per-view, was asked if his match against Hogan was the biggest in history, saying that it is, but only until they finally make Michaels vs. Rock happen to top it, again setting his sights on the match while raising expectations in the business on potential talks happening behind the scenes, with the optimism lasting only 2 months, with the same pattern from the past 5 years continuing, with Rock in an interview on the company website in October, listing Sting and Rey Mysterio as 2 wrestlers he would have liked to wrestle during his career, while again when asked about it noting that he was not interested in the Michaels match, with the persistence from Vince McMahon and the company in general to try to make the match happen in a situation almost resembling the constant offers to Bret Hart over the years to make the Hart vs. McMahon match, continuing into 2006 with reportedly another offer for Rock vs. Michaels to headline WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, with Rock this time, even if wanting to do it, could not make it happen due to a timing issue with him filming a movie in March and April of 2006, with more back and forth comments between Michaels and Rock, seeing both confirming the talks with Shawn in January, weeks after starting the build-up for the McMahon WrestleMania match. saying that they tried to make the match happen but Rock was not interested, while Rock in the same publication 5 months later confirming that he was contacted to be a part of WrestleMania 22 without detailing his role on the show. Heading into 2007 with the March 12th Raw seeing Rock and Michaels appearing in back-to-back segments of the show, with Rock making his first appearance on wrestling television in almost 3 years, hyping the Trump vs. McMahon hair match, followed by Michaels teaming with Cena in a 3-team gauntlet match for the tag titles, building into the joint most watched hour of Raw in nearly 5 years with over 6.3 million viewers.
Finally, there's a guy. He was awesome then, he's awesome now. It would be a great match. Is Shawn Michaels.
After nearly a decade of publicly and privately turning down the match despite constant attempts to make it happen, in a major surprise and on a major stage during the live TV broadcast in the 2008 Hall of Fame, for the first time when it looked like the window for it has already passed, Rock, during a speech inducting his grandfather and father into the Hall of Fame, finally mentioned Shawn Michaels as one of the 3 opponents he wanted to wrestle in the company, first noting Mysterio and Cena before the crowd already started the HBK chants after years of talks about the match, with Rock's first public acknowledgement of the Michaels match not bringing it any closer, with the 2010 WrestleMania all but officially ending it with Michaels wrestling his final match against Taker to retire from the business, in a coincidence setting an almost identical reverse scenario to nearly a decade earlier, with Michaels returning to the ring just as Rock transitioned full-time to Hollywood, with Rock on February 14, 2011 finally making his wrestling TV return after 7 years to turn the industry upside down with the hottest run of the era for the company, culminating in one of the most hyped draw shows since the peak period on March 28, 6 days to WrestleMania, with Rock's first advertised draw appearance since the go-home show to WrestleMania 20, matching the blockbuster expectations, with the second hour built on 2 massive promo segments with Rock and Michaels in the center drawing one of the biggest audiences in years, leading to an almost unprecedented viewing pattern, with both segments combined spiking over 3 million viewers and a huge viewership gap from the rest of the show, with Michaels, Taker and Hunter at 10 p.m. jumping over 1.4 million viewers, followed by the most hyped segment of the generation on wrestling television at 11 p.m. with Rock making his return in Chicago for the promoted first Rock Cena confrontation, seeing the segment going 20 minutes past the top of the hour to gain over 1.6 million viewers for a peak 4.8 rating, with over 7.4 million viewers in the biggest audience to watch any wrestling segment in nearly a decade, while just days later in a major weekend for both, with Rock making his WrestleMania return to headline the pay-per-view as the host and Michaels headlining the 2011 Hall of Fame. The day of the show on April 3 saw the company releasing a series of pictures and several website articles, with the most talked about one seeing a Rock-Michaels conversation taking place hours before the show backstage at the Georgia Dome, giving the final indication that while the match is likely to never happen, any heat between them is now in the past, with Michaels and Rock also having a documented meeting backstage at WrestleMania 3 years later, with Michaels praising the Rock-Hogan-Austin opening segment, saying that it's gonna be impossible to top for the rest of the night, with it a special moment in the business.
Unfortunately, Chad Frost has injured his knee and will be out for 6 months.
All I'm saying is Rock ain't ready. I mean, he thinks he's better than everybody. The guys don't trust him. I just don't know if he can handle the top spot.
As years went by with them looking to be on good terms for over a decade, including Michaels now working regularly with his daughter and the company's developmental territory, an NBC series called Young Rock chronologing Rock's childhood all the way to his football, wrestling and acting careers, featured an episode in the 3rd season airing on January 20, 2023, bringing back the spotlight on the now decades-old issues with the series while going over the start of Rock's main event run in 1998 and while referring to any other character in the series by their original name, featuring a mysterious figure called Chad Frost and a scene of him burying Rock in a meeting with Vince McMahon saying that he's not ready for a main event spot, along with a subtle shot at the character's substance issues at the time, with Rock in the voiceover on the scene noting that Frost did not turn out to be a friend with the scene and the timeline of the series, making it clear that the character is playing Michaels' role, with Michaels 2 months later in an interview with the Daily Mail with the topic back in the headlines talking about his current relationship with Rock and why the match ended up not happening, saying that they're now on good terms and made peace after talking backstage at the Hall of Fame when Rock returned to the company, while leaving what would have guaranteed to be one of the biggest box office feuds in history in every aspect from the ring and promo work to pay-per-view, as only a dream scenario at the top of the list of the biggest dream matches ever in the industry that ended up not happening.